Welcome back, guys. This one here is going to be part 12 of Dinosaurs and Man. And this one here, I had a little difficult time trying to name the video, and I just thought that I would call this one the Discovery. The Discovery kind of seemed to fit. We're going to talk about kind of the first fossils that were found and the naming and stuff like that. We'll go about as far as we can. Don't know if I'm going to be able to cover everything. But what I'm going to do right now is we're going to go back to the meteorite topic. And so the meteor that hit the Yucatan Peninsula, that the evolutionists believe, at least it's one of their theories, that they believe killed off the dinosaurs. And so this information I'm going to be sharing came from this article right here called Dinosaurs. And this was from back in 1993, January 1993, National Geographic. And so, as you guys notice, I'm getting information from a secular source. There's a lot of information that I have in my presentations that come from secular sources, not just creation sources. And so, you can learn quite a bit from them, even though we come at it from a different worldview. I'm in a biblical worldview. They're from a secular worldview, but it's really interesting, the unique things and the little good nuggets that you can learn from these folks. And but what I want you to do, if you notice on the screen, we're going to touch on this meteor. I want to show you guys, and it's not just the meteor. That's not my focus, is what I'm trying to get on. I'm trying to focus your attention on how they think and how they change their theories and views and stuff like that. And I want you to notice, we're going to talk about something very interesting, and I'll point that out when we get to it. Some of you guys, it should pop out at you. Some of my guys that are familiar with the creation evolution debate and some of the topics that we can get into, this may pop right out at you, but I am going to point it out. But it says here, we're talking about the iridium. What they're saying is that when the meteorite hit, that there was a layer of iridium that could be seen in many parts of the globe, and they believe that came from the impact of the asteroid or the meteor, and then that is what was the catalyst to other things that happened on this planet that killed off about 75% of the life forms on this planet. But it says here, for the Dakotas and eastern Montana contain one of the few rock formations on Earth that record in detail the Great Beast's final 2 million years, called the Hell Creek Formation. Now, the Hell Creek Formation is where they found the T-Rex thigh bone. The T-Rex thigh bone, that's right in here, this area right here. The T-Rex thigh bone, and they found soft tissue in that bone. And guys, Mary Schweitzer was one of the discoverers of that, and it was completely found by accident. They weren't looking for it. And I've got the interview by her, and they said it was completely by accident. Because see, in their minds, there's no way that you're going to find soft tissue in a dinosaur bone. But guys, they have found not only soft tissue in the T-Rex, but in many other dinosaur bones and other fossils. They started looking, and they found soft tissue in other dinosaur bones. I'm talking about blood cells, guys, that they found here. Well, what does that say? Well, that says this right here is not 65 million years old. And so that's a big deal. That's a real big deal. And I believe it was Jack Horner, real famous guy. He said to Mary Schweitzer, the Christians are going to love you. Because see, he knew in his mind, that is significant. And so, but at any rate, don't want to go rabbit trail on that too much. Let's go back to that. Called the Hell Creek Formation. This area contains a thin band of exotic element iridium. Here, rare on Earth, iridium is common in asteroids. Similar iridium bands have been found in 65-million-year-old deposits across the world. Most scientists now accept the bands as convincing evidence for a tremendous extraterrestrial impact at the close of the Cretaceous. A 65-million-year-old buried crater, 110 miles in diameter, has recently been located in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. The article goes on to say, it says, this is the author, the guy that wrote the article, said, I visit the Hell Creek Formation with Berkeley paleontologist Don Lofgren and Kevin, I'm going to say it's Padian. Lofgren is struggling to work out the complex stratigraphy of this rapidly eroding dinosaur deathbed. He meets me at a lonely Montana crossroads, and we drive to a site where their team has uncovered the skull of a bighorn triceratops. The triceratops lies about 6 feet below the level of the iridium layer. Now that's key, guys. The triceratops lies about 6 feet below the level of the iridium layer. Those 6 feet of rock could have been laid down in a few hundred years, says Lofgren, or over 1,000,000 years. Now, that's a pretty big jump. You got 100 years or 1,000,000 years. And he goes on to say, no one knows. That is just one of the uncertainties surrounding the disappearance of the dinosaurs. Some scientists believe they had already vanished by the time of the Great Impact. Others argue that rather than one great impact, there was a shower of impacts over several million years. Here we go. That progressively weakened the ecosystem. So if you notice there, he says no one knows. It's all guesswork, guys, but they could constantly are usually you'll any type of debate or any time when they want to hit Christians and stuff like that, they always say science, the facts. I had plenty of atheists that would nail me with the facts of science, the facts of evolution, the facts. Now, science is facts. Here they're saying they don't know. They don't know. No one knows. They don't know what killed them off. They have no idea. All of it's just a guessing game. But it says there at the very bottom, listen to this, maybe there was a shower of impacts. And that right there is what I'm trying to say. In the flood, when the flood happened, God is hitting this planet all at once. It's not taking millions of years or anything like that. He's hitting this planet. Now, it does say, if my mind serves me correctly, that the waters prevailed on the planet, on the earth, for 5 months. If my mind serves me correctly, and for 5 months. So God was, it took several months to do what he wanted to do. But asteroids definitely were part of that. Because we see the evidence. Even though it doesn't state it. And we've talked about that. And just like in the book of Revelation, it talks about how things were going to be falling from the sky. And so that sounds exactly like meteorites. And so, but what I'm saying here is that you've got to understand their thinking on here. It's all a guessing game. They don't know. They have no foundation. They don't put God into it. We do have a foundation. We have this right here. This right here tells us what happened. It tells us what happened, and we can see the evidence on our planet that backs that up. To have a triceratops 6 feet below that iridium layer, that should automatically tell them that asteroid in and of itself didn't do it. The reason why I'm saying that is because they're thinking that 6 feet, it took upwards of 1,000,000 years. It could have taken 1,000,000 years for that rock layer to build up, because they're thinking in uniformitarian type thinking. Long ages of time, grow and slow and gradual type of things. But when it comes to the Bible, things can happen much quickly when you're talking about a catastrophe. Sedimentary layers can happen real fast, and to make a fossil like this Triceratops, you're going to need sedimentary rock, and you're going to also need water with minerals that would turn the bone into stone. And so, but but they don't want to believe that. They don't want to believe that. They will mention that they do believe in some flooding that killed some of the dinosaurs, but they always say it was a river that was over flooding and stuff like that. And we're going to go through a lot of that whenever we go through the Noah's Ark. Now, when we're talking about dinosaurs, where did they first come from? The first recorded discovery of dinosaur bones, now it's been reported in the articles that I've read, it's been reported that dinosaur bones have been discovered as early as 1676. 1676. If you notice this picture here, I'm going to kind of bounce around on this slide here, and we're going to talk about some of the things on there. In 1822, Dr. Gideon Mantell and his wife, they found a tooth. And what happened is Dr. Mantell, he named the tooth the iguanodon, the iguanodon, which means iguana tooth. He said, "Hey, that tooth looks like an iguana's tooth," and so that's where you get that iguanodon, dontus, and so that's where you get that iguanodon. And now the other fellow over there, William Buckland, he found, but from what I understand, the megalosaur fossils, the fragmented fossils, they were found in a quarry. By workers. And at any rate, he they saw these animals and these giant bones and stuff. They didn't know what they were looking at, and so they attempted to put it together. And if you'll notice the picture, right beside of William Buckland, you notice that picture. You got that animal on all four legs. That's what they originally thought that animal looked like. And just like the iguanodon, they put it together wrong also. One of the thumbs that's kind of like it's got like kind of a spiky claw. They had it on its nose. They put that on its nose like if it was a horn. They thought, this looks like a horn. So they put it on the end of its nose, and it made the iguanodon have like a horn. But later on, they found out that it was actually part of a claw, a thumb. And so, but going back to that Megalosaurus, later on, they ended up finding out that the picture that you see above William Buckland, that right there is what the Megalosaur actually looks like. And so, again, they're still learning. They didn't know what these animals were. They had no clue. They didn't even have really a name for them, except what they have named the individual things by themselves. Now, this is just, I'm going to throw this in because it's part of the information that I found out, which is truly bizarre, but that's what they thought at this time. They said that the Megalosaurus bone was first mistaken as a thigh bone from a giant human. Now, you got to think now, during this time, people believed the Bible. They believed the Bible. And so, in the book of Genesis, it says that there were giants in the earth in those days. And of course, you got Goliath and his family and stuff like that. And so, but I don't want to rabbit trail too much, but you got a lot of people that believe the scripture. So they thought that this thigh bone was from a giant human. A century later, now get this, Dr. Richard Brooks named the fossil Scrotum humanum, because it resembled a giant set of human testicles. And so that's all I'm going to say about that. But guys, that's their thinking when they started seeing these giant bones. And so, but the stegosaur depiction in 1884, you see that animal in the foreground standing up on its hind legs. That's what they thought a stegosaur looked like in 1884. And then later on, they found out this is exactly what it looked like. Stegosaur at the Peabody Museum, Natural History, 1910. And so that's what it actually looks like. And so, but what's really interesting, it says here, at the time, the idea of extinct animals that might have predated the biblical flood was heretical. So despite Mantell's determined efforts to interest influential scientists, guys, listen to this, to interest influential scientists, his discoveries were dismissed. They didn't want to hear it. These people believed the scriptures. And so, he came out, he said, wait a minute, is it possible that there was another time other than this? Of course, they weren't thinking, I guess, these people, there was still a time right here where if they just would have thought in the biblical flood destroyed these animals, and that's where they got this from, maybe this would have taken a different turn. And so, but it didn't. It didn't. And here we are today discussing a topic that really has no evidence whatsoever. It says, in the early 19th century in the United States, fossil tracks and bones that were thought to be from birds would later show to be from dinosaurs, because the way, you got a lot of them with your three-toed prints in there. And so, guys, I'm going to stop right there. We're going to continue with the rest of it later. I just wanted to go back to that meteorite because I just wanted to show, like I said, my videos are for the believers. They're for the believers. I want to educate my believers. And so it's not for the unbelievers and atheists and stuff like that. You guys have already made up your mind you don't believe it. And so, it's best that you just go find something else. I've attempted going down that road before, and it's very frustrating, and it's a complete waste of time, and you really don't win anything. And so it's just, I'm taking it like this. Jesus said, don't cast your pearls before swine. And so that's actually scripture. And so I know that's kind of a harsh thing to say, guys, but that's the truth. That's just the truth. If people don't want to believe, they're not going to believe. The people that do believe, I want to center my efforts on the people that do believe. If you're going to grow a garden, you're not going to go into a desert to grow a garden. You want good soil. You want good soil that you can bring and have some fruit that comes out of that soil from your garden. You don't want to go out to a desert and try to grow a garden. It's useless. It's just useless. And so that's my thinking. And so some people may disagree with me on that. That's fine. You go that route and you'll see just how frustrating it is. And then you'll come back and you'll want to water my garden. So, but at any rate, guys, we're going to continue on. We're going to get into the name of dinosaurs. I'm going to tell you some really unique things of how some other cultures think about the fossils too, okay? You guys take care.